Hi boys and girls, welcome back. We'd like to start our Chapter 8 review. Remember, Chapter 8 is all about how to multiply fractions by whole numbers. The essential question in Lesson 8.1 is, how can you write a fraction as a product of a whole number and a unit fraction? First thing I think we need to do is go back and make sure that we understand some of our math words. So let's go back and look at our question. First thing we want to do is we want to underline the word fraction because we're working with fractions. We want to underline the word product because we're working with what? You're right, multiplication. We're also going to be dealing with whole numbers and a particular type of fraction, a unit fraction. So you should be asking yourself, am I comfortable with the descriptions and the definitions of each of the words that are underlined on this question? Let's go in and take a look at a word problem. Here's a word problem for us to consider. And the question that I want you to consider as we're looking at this problem is, in what types of problems would you use multiples, not multiplies. Here we go. Oscar cuts a loaf of banana bread into 8 equal slices. His brother eats some bread for a snack. There is 5/8 of the banana bread left. Oscar puts each leftover slice on a separate plate. How many plates does Oscar use? Now let's think about some questions here. First of all, into how many equal slices is the banana bread divided? You're right, into 8 equal slices. Go back into the problem. What unit fraction does one slice represent? Well, if I have 8 equal slices and I know a unit fraction is a fraction with a numerator of 1, the unit fraction is, the unit fraction must be 1/8. All right, good job. How many 1/8 size slices are left over? Let's go back into the problem. Well, it says 5/8 of the banana bread are left. So there must be 5 slices left over. So if there are 5 slices left over, how many plates does Oscar use? You're right, he needs to have 1 slice per plate. He puts a slice, each slice, on a separate plate. So he must need 5 plates. Now, let's go back in and figure out how we're going to show this using whole numbers and fractions. And we're going to do it in 2 different ways. So the first question I'm going to say is, how can I show 5/8 as a unit fraction in 2 ways? Well, let's take a look at the first way. I can write 5/8 as a repeated addition sentence. 5/8 equals 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8. All of my numerators are 1. All of my denominators are 8. So 5/8 equals 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 in repeated addition. But I can also show 5/8 as a unit fraction using multiplication. Let's take a look. I can write the equation 5/8 equals the whole number 5 times the unit fraction 1/8. The whole number 5 times the unit fraction 1/8. In this situation, we understand that 1/8 is the size of the pieces of pizza, and 5 would be the number of plates that Oscar would need. So to answer the question, how many plates does Oscar use? Oscar will use 5 plates for the remaining slices of banana bread. Let's go on. In lesson 8.2, your essential question is, how can you write a product of a whole number and a fraction as the product of a whole number and a unit fraction? Before we move on, let's go back in and take a look at the math words that we're talking about. Well, first of all, we have the word product right here. We know the product is what? Yes, the answer in a multiplication equation. We also know what a whole number is, and we know that a fraction is part of a whole number. Now let's take a look at what else we know here. We know the word product here, we know whole number here, and look at this. This, once again, is that unit fraction. The first question you should be asking yourself is, do I understand the difference between a unit fraction and any other type of fraction? You should know the difference. Let's take a look at a word problem. In our second word problem, and I want you to think about the difference between these word problems, boys and girls. The question I asked before is, in what type of problem would you use multiples? How would you describe a unit fraction? Take a look at the words and take a look at the questions. Let's read. Tina gives each of 2 dogs 3/4 of a cup of food. Her scoop holds 1/4 cup. How many times will she fill her scoop to feed both dogs? Now, I really want you to think about what is being said here and visualize what's going on. Let's take a look if we can answer some questions. What do you need to find here? You're right. How many times will she fill her scoop? How can you draw a model to show 2 dogs each get 3/4 of a cup of food? I really want you to think about that. Let's take a look. Now you know how good I am, or shall I say not so good at drawing circles, so I'm going to use a bar here. Whoops, let's take that. Let's start again. All right, this bar, whoops, let me start again. All right, here we go. I have 2 bars. Each bar represents 1 dog. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide each one of these bars into, well, that's horrible, into 4 equal parts. Okay? Now, each part, whoops, let's do the right thing here. What do I know? Well, I have 2 dogs, and I know that each dog gets 3/4 of a cup of food. So let's go ahead and take a look at how much I'm going to shade. So for the first dog, I'm going to shade 1, 2, 3/4 of that cups of food, okay? And for my second dog, I know that it's going to get 1, 2, 3/4 of a cup of food, all right? What multiplication expression can you write to represent your model? Let's think about this. Well, I have 2 dogs, and therefore I need to feed both dogs. So I have 2 dogs, and each dog gets 3/4 of a cup of food. So I'm going to put times 3/4. All right, so here's how I'm going to explain this. There are 2 groups of 3/4. How can your model help you solve the problem? Well, let's take a look. We want to come up with a possible explanation here. Well, I can see that 2 times 3/4 is the same as 6 groups of 1/4. Let's take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1/4 cups. So 2 times 3/4, well, let's do them all, is actually 6 groups of 1/4. Now there's a step in there that you can also do. And we've actually taken our 2 times 3/4 and we've created that as a, oops, I'm sorry, 2 times 3/4. We multiplied 2 times 3, which is 6, put our fourths on the bottom. So we've created a fraction greater than 1 whole. Then we take that fraction greater than 1 whole and we turn it into an equation with a whole number times a unit fraction. We've practiced this quite often. I want you to think about how your model has helped you solve the problem, and I want you to think about how you have explained how your model has helped you solve this problem. Let's move on. In lesson 8.3, our essential question was, how can I use a model to multiply a fraction by a whole number? So we know that models help us visualize what our numbers are going to look like. So we're going to use a very special model, and we're going to take a look at what a particular equation really truly means. What does 3 times 2/8 truly mean? All right, let's think about that for a minute. Well, a possible answer might be 3 groups consisting of 2/8 size pieces. All right, how can you model 3 times 2/8 on a number line? Well, we're going to create a number line, and we're going to take a look at what this looks like and how you can use a number line and understand a number line to help you model this equation. What is 3 times 2/8? Well, I have created a number line here, and you'll notice that the number line goes from 0 on the left to 8/8 on the right. And what I've done, boys and girls, is I've attempted to create equal tick marks so that we know each space on our number line is 1/8. Well, it looks like it was pretty close, but 1/8. But each time we jump, we're jumping, or each interval is 1/8 of the length of the line. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to actually take a look at this and say, how do we represent 3 times 2/8 on the number line? Well, I'm going to think about this. The multiples, let's see. The first jump I'm going to make is from 0 to 2/8. That's my first jump. Now, if I jump 2 more eighths, I'm going to jump from 2/8 to, you're right, 4/8. I'm going to make one more jump from 2/8 to 6/8. So boys and girls, what I have just done here is I have done 3 jumps. Oh, that's horrible. Hello. 3 jumps. Each is 2/8 of the length of the line. So in total, I have jumped 3 times 2/8, which has gotten me to 6/8. Take a look at your number line. I want you to try and repeat this activity for 2 times 2/5 using a number line divided into fifths. Let me give you the details. So this is the practice problem that I want you to work on tonight. Repeat the number line activity for 2 times 2/5 using a number line divided into fifths. Please show what this would look like. All right, boys and girls, we'll see you tomorrow for part 2. Good night.